Hi, it's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm, and if you enjoy the hobby or the business of plant propagation, winter can be kind of a drag. It's kind of cold outside and it slows everything down, but it is not unproductive time as far as propagation goes. I've got lots of seeds stratifying, getting their cold treatment for next year. Indoors, I have a whole room of projects going on for propagation, but what I'll be focusing on today is stem cuttings, hardwood stem cuttings, for which this is the perfect time of year to get started. Either early winter or late winter is a great window of opportunity to get some suitable plants cut and in the ground. Let me show you some of the suitable plants around landscape. This one is dappled willow. It's still holding on to some of the leaves that it's valued for ornamentally. What I'm going to do in this case is I'm just going to go ahead and take off some big stems right now. And at this point, I don't have to be too picky about where the cuts are. I'm just collecting long stems. The only important part is that when I set them down, that I know which side is up, of course, and that I label the variety. This thick-stemmed guy here is a Deutzia. I will, of course, add pictures of the plants that I'm doing this of, and this is exactly the right time to be taking them for the early winter cuttings, which is just as they're dropping their leaves, and this one has been dropping leaves as I've been standing here. So I'll take some cuttings of this, I'll bundle them just like I did with the willow, and then on this side here I actually have another plant that's suitable for this. This is a spirea, a Shirobana spirea, that I'm going to take some cuttings of while I'm sitting right here. Okay, I've crawled right into the shrub here. Don't ever say I don't do things for you. And I'm trying to get you a good shot of the difference between a stem I would take and a stem I wouldn't take based on its age and color. So having a look at the two that are shooting off on the left here up in a 45-degree angle, those are fresh this year's stems, and the stem that they're coming off of and further back, I'm going to focus in on that, is much grayer. And that's the old growth. That's from a previous year of growth. So what we're looking for is as thick as we can manage, generally, of the fresh new stems from this year, rather than the old gray stems or the thin and wispy stems that you might see towards the foreground here as well. You're not looking for thin, wispy, you're looking for thick stems from the current year of growth. Let's get some from a more colorful winter stemmed variety of willow. This is a Salix called Flame. So far, all the varieties I've shown you have been shrubs, but this shot is to show you that you can do trees, especially prunus or cherry type trees. And this one, of course, is laburnum, the golden chain tree. Let me get up there and get some cuttings. My final example for the video today is this hydrangea, and full disclosure, I would prefer to do my hydrangeas from earlier, softer season cuttings because they're so fast and easy that way. I didn't get a chance for this limelight hydrangea. This is a paniculata variety, which you might be able to tell from the flowers or the spent flower heads here, and I didn't get a chance to take cuttings of it earlier this year, so I'll take those cuttings as hardwood now in hopes that I can root them over the winter. Hey guys, maybe I'll let you have a look over my shoulder while I take care of some of these cuttings. Okay, from the basket that we collected today, I have the limelight hydrangea, that spirea, the laburnum from the tree, the Salix Flame, that colorful stemmed willow, the dappled willow with its dappled leaves still on, and then that Deutzia. So let me pull some stuff out of the way here so I can show you how I deal with these as stems. Now first off, remember that I bundled these in such a way that the elastic band and the ID tag were sort of at the bottom of the stems. So this side here is the bottom. You can actually tell that pretty easily as you look at these because these still have some leaves on, so it's actually easy to tell which is which. However, once you get those leaves off, and they are falling off already, once you strip them back like that, that's an easy way to strip them back because they're close to abscission anyway, so if you just pull back up on the stem, you'll drop off all the leaves. But once you've done that, you can kind of tell which side the buds are on, you can kind of tell which end is thinner, but it's pretty easy to lose track of which side is up and which side is down. So let's go ahead and process these into sections that are suitable as stem cuttings. And the first thing you do is just the same as you would for any other cutting in the active season, is you take your cut around the spot of a node, and the node is a spot where you see these buds coming out the side here. Let me see if I can get a close-up of that. And wherever you see the buds coming out of the side of the stem, that means you've got a node. So bottom one should be at a node, and you're looking for a stem between, say, 8 and 12 inches. This is a thinner stem, so I'm going to go for closer to the 8-inch range, and that's your first cutting. This is a thicker, longer stem, and from this one here, again, I'm going to go to, in this case, about, say 10 inches. And then, of course, there's room further up the stem for even smaller cutting. So I'll just, again, cut the bottom at a node and then right here. You can see what short work that makes of getting over 20 hardwood cuttings here of that Deutzia variety. Next thing I'm going to do is dip it into rooting hormone, and I'd use a slightly higher level of rooting hormone than I would during the active season, going up from 0.3% up to something like 0.8% or 1% or higher for some varieties, particularly those prunus or those trees varieties take a little convincing to put on roots. The one exception to that would be something like the salix or the willow, which, as many people will know, have their own sort of natural rooting hormone built in, so they don't really require a ton of convincing to get going. So while I cut up this next variety here using the same rules, cutting below a node, giving myself, say, 2 or 3 nodes ahead of it, getting to a length of 8 or 12 inches, then I'm going to talk to you really quickly here about what makes some varieties more worth doing from hardwood cuttings than others. And obviously you want to go with what people have succeeded with before. If you're just experimenting, obviously it's worth trying anything, but you want to go with what has been successful with other people before, and I guess that's what makes a good candidate for hardwood cuttings. I'll give the example of why I don't usually do my cuttings of roses from hardwood cuttings. And you can see from previous videos I have done them from cuttings, but they're just so much faster and easier during the active season of growth. And because they're my livelihood, I need that fast, easy, and highly successful method of producing them. Something like willows, which would indeed do fine during the active season or the dormant season, I'm going to do them during the dormant season because I'm spending my time during the active season on those varieties that do so much better. May as well answer one more question here, is about timing. The timing on these is usually early winter or late winter. So early winter like this, when the ground temperatures are still favorable, the plants have just lost their leaves, everything is just a little more favorable for it, is a good time to do it. If you go into the coldest part of the season, well, obviously the ground can be frozen, or it could be more inconvenient to work, and there's little advantage to getting them into the ground like that. So this stage here, if I still have a few weeks of sort of semi-warm weather and the soil is semi-warm, they may engage in a little bit of early callousing on the cuttings, so you get some advantage of the growing time. But if you go in the midwinter, there really isn't any advantage. So in that case, you may as well just wait until the plants have gone all the way through the winter, those stems have gone through the cold period, and catch them just in late winter or earliest bit of spring before they leaf out, and get them into the ground at that point. For location in the garden, I've chosen someplace under the shade of my big oak tree here, and with a reasonable garden soil. It's actually kind of a moist soil. I'm pressing them straight down to about 2/3 of the height of the cutting. So 1/3 is sticking up above, 2/3 are down below. That leaves you 2 or 3 nodes down below the soil surface and maybe 1 or 2 up above, depending on how the nodes are configured on your cuttings. You can do this in a pot, in some shade out back of your house. You can do this in red cups like I did a couple of years ago and put them into your garage or into a protected place. Any which way you do it, what you're looking for is sort of consistent but quite cool conditions, a little bit of moisture but nothing waterlogged. So something that is sandy or well drained is a good location for these. Let me give some close-ups here. Well, as you can see, all 6 varieties are stuck now. No extra points for tidiness for me, but I guess that's not the most important of our goals. What I would really be able to love to show you is these rooted, but of course I'm doing this in real time, so I won't be able to put in the results for this. But what I will insert right now is a shot of some dappled willow in a pot that we rooted by the same method last year, and some of these colored willows that I just stuck into the ground just like this a couple months ago. And willow is so ready to root that it has already put on some small roots in that location. All right, if you have any questions about hardwood cutting or winter propagation of cut by cuttings, go ahead and drop those into the comments below the video and I'll see what I can do to help.